When artists settle in a place to create, whether it be painting or imagining a play, they take inspiration from this environment. Their art becomes linked to the place, rooted for some. But what becomes of the place afterwards? Of its inhabitants, of the workers, the tourists and explorers who make this environment? What impact do artists leave on the people and places they interact with? And more specifically, what impact did Van Gogh leave? Through a comparative study of 3 cities across different countries, we'll see some factors that shape the intensity of an artist's impact on their environment. And for that, there's no better way than go over there. Let me present you Antwerp, Zundert and its Brabant area, and finally Auvers-Sur-Oise. Van Gogh moved later on in life in Antwerp in 1885. He went on to study painting at the academy, but academia wasn't really a thing for him. He was mostly inspired by the liveliness of the place and its artistic character. I can't tell you how delighted I still am that I came to Antwerp, and how much there is to observe here for me, who has been out of things for so long, to observe the city again. Antwerp suited me well. I hope to come back to Antwerp sometime, because there's something free and artistic about the life here. All sorts of people, English, French, German, Belgium.
How do you think that art impacts the person that you become to be, and maybe even the places where the art is produced?
For myself?
For yourself or in general?
How does it change my life?
Yeah.
You mean? Oh, yes, I need it. I need to talk, I need to read, I need to breathe. So I need to express myself, but not prosaically, in poetic terms.
Van Gogh was born in Zundert and grew up in its Brabant area. He produced many paintings over there and got education there. He mostly took inspiration from these great places of countryside and farmers, which he carried through many of his paintings later on in life.
Wanneer zijn ambachten wegens ongelukken waren gebleken, mislukte er ooit
Zijn kunst, hij maakte elke dag tientallen tekeningen voor boeren, zware werkende boeren, zaaiers en zo.
Van Gogh spent the last time of his life in Auvers-Sur-Oise before he ultimately died there and is now buried in the cemetery. He did around 100 paintings in the space of 3 months. Although none can be seen in Auvers nowadays, the places he painted can still be seen for most of them. The environment has been preserved as such.
On sent qu'ils sont toujours très fiers d'amener de la famille provinciale ou des amis qui viennent d'ailleurs pour leur montrer la petite fierté locale.
The impact of artists on places seems more important in small villages. They are more likely to be linked with this artist because of fewer features of interest in the place. They cling on to what they have and make it a strength for the city. Tourism can greatly impact economies. Zundert and Auvers have other attractions, of course, such as Zundert's green spaces and biking paths, or Auvers' multiple impressionists like Daubigny and Boccia.
Yeah, but I think, as you said, it's important to draw in people. When there's an art project, it's always on the news, and so in that regard, I think it draws in a lot of people to come to a city, and when we go abroad, that's kind of also the time where we sometimes go to museums, but not in our own city, I'm afraid.
Yet, these small cities, which are highly linked with Van Gogh at first, show initiative to preserve the art as already been made, putting up posters of what Van Gogh's painting looks like in front of the landscape he painted, for instance, as well as new initiatives undertaken to make more light shine on this artistic representation. This can be seen with the Potato Eater sculpture in Union. Bigger cities are greatly influenced by art and Van Gogh's work as well, although it often is more subtle. They usually multiply artists instead of focusing on one. Antwerp also has less an emphasis on Van Gogh but more on Rubens. Although the impact is still here, it appears in different forms. There are 3 main ways you can see the impact of artists on the people and the place. First one is the atmosphere of the city. Van Gogh art contributed to the lively atmosphere and artistic landscapes that he talks about in his letters. Second one is the preservation of the place, especially with tourism due to his work being famous now, especially true in Auvers, where some of the wet fields are still nowadays localized. For instance, nature is impacted, as well as the inhabitants and the
Do you know Van Gogh?
Mostly from school or museum. I don't know a lot about him, but just the things I learned in school actually. I think his work is very pretty, and also the meaning behind his paintings. And
one is a direct link with people who are moved by his art or by his person reading their letters. Many volunteers working in places of memory on Van Gogh, such as the Zundert, have shared the experience on how they connect with this person through his writings. Connection between these three places are highly personal. Depends on three factors. First, the geography and location, as well as the similarities of culture. Zundert and Antwerp are really close, for instance. Both cities speak Dutch. Mostly, it depends on the initiatives of the people. This can be seen through the story of Auvers and Zundert being linked. Also, it started with Van Gogh, being born in Zundert and dying in Auvers. Used through multiple examples, such as exchanges between the two football clubs of the cities, which are then renewed yearly. Also, there was a barrier of language. Some friendships were born out of it, and a twinning of the two villages.
Avec le foot, on se rencontrait tous les ans, et un beau jour, la municipalité a décidé de nous faire le jumelage, mais c'est grâce au foot.
Surface, Auvers and Antwerp don't seem to share that many similarities. Yet, many people in Auvers have been to Antwerp because it's such a big and diverse city. Multiple inhabitants of Antwerp have heard about the Van Gogh's painting in Auvers. Yet, they seem to share less similarities than all the other cities in that project. Only one letter separates them in their French spelling: Auvers, Anvers.
Alors, comment tu t'appelles déjà?
Le Douget Louis.